Previously on Unpicker.
I've only got 8 weeks to make a kilt. Splitting, pleats, bells, aprons, measurements, dump trucks. Oh no, I don't have enough fabric. The stakes are super high. It's time to start stitching the kilt. First, I psych myself up and cut the fabric to size. And I add a stabilising stitch to the raw edges. Before I mark out the kilt again, I write up a record sheet. This includes all the details of the kilt, and I dutifully baste it onto the apron at the book's instruction. I was sceptical at first, but this actually proves to be quite useful. I also made some gauges for the size of the pleats at the hips and the waist, and the length of the fell on some stiff card. These were really useful. I'm going to be hand sewing for much of this, so I gathered my materials. The book demands carpet thread and basting thread, but I asked at the haberdashery and they looked at me like I was mad, so I'm using this neon polyester for basting and this grey sari thread that I got on the cheap. The first task is to baste the apron edge, and then the inside apron edge. So far, so good. Giving enough space for the deep pleat, I mark out the first pleat with the gauges, pin it in place, and sew from the top edge to the bottom of the fell. I then hand press and pin the fold on the far side of the first pleat, mark out the second pleat, and hand sew them together. I stopped to bask in the glory of this. Sewing the pleats seemed like this huge, impossible task, and as far as I could tell, this first one had gone well. Now it was time to sew 9 more. And I did. Did the final size match the record sheet? No. Should I have unpicked the pleats, bought a new tape measure and remade my gauges? Yes, I should have. But I didn't know that yet. So I marked out the inside under apron edge and sewed it into the pleats. I could now mark out the outside under apron edge. And after several checks, miraculously, there was now enough material, but only just. To finish the bottom edge and to stop the under apron poking out at the bottom, the corner is folded up and stitched down with a herringbone stitch. The same treatment is given to both of the deep pleats, which is much more fiddly as you have to force it up into a curve. The last fiddly bit was to baste down the deep pleats, and I'm pretty sure I did this completely wrong. I also basted the under apron edge as I felt like I had missed that step along the way. It was now time to baste the pleats. Turning to the wrong side, I pinned the pleats in place at the hips, as this is where the fabric should fold to meet up edge to edge. I then pinned the pleats at the waist and turned to the right side, smoothed out the garment as best I could, and used the gauges to mark the fronts of the pleats. This was getting fiddly and nothing was matching up right. Disregarding the book completely, I decided to give the pleats a light press. Using the gauge, I started folding, pressing and pinning each of the pleats. Getting further into the weeds, I started picking random pleats and pressing them. Nothing seemed to be working and I was panicking. The final result was that none of my pleats seemed to have the full 15 centimeters that I was expecting. I fussed with this for some time and tried basting them into place, but I was done. There didn't seem to be any way to save it short of unpicking the pleats and starting again.